Hello, my name is John Rose, and in this video I'd like to take a closer look at the difference between what we know and what we do. And as always, I like to look at things in two ways. If you've noticed by watching my other videos, I usually talk about the knowledge we need, the knowledge we're missing, and then you might be thinking, why does he always throw in the problems of knowledge? Well, I like people to understand why we don't know. Partly because I'm a why guy, so I'm going to appeal to mostly why type of people. But the whys are important because that is what will help motivate us to apply what we know, because knowledge is worthless unless we apply it, right? And I illustrate that in a special teaching tool I created, where I explain that we got to go from the first stage of knowledge where it's acquired to the second stage of knowledge where it's applied. And then there is a doorway in between there where we have blockers, or obstacles, and we also have facilitators that can help us get through there. And I've identified 281 pieces altogether, and the one piece of the puzzle that will help us apply what we know is labeled piece 54.5. That is where we're willing to apply what we know, and I like to kind of modify that slightly and say that we're willing to test an idea whose time has come. And that's the first of my three-step process that I perfected, so that each and every one of us can prove to ourselves that there's really a simple solution to all of our problems. My first step is 10 times faster than if you just say, I'm going to correct these 5 main mistakes and eat a raw vegan diet. And when we do it that quickly, we're also addressing any potential deficiency issues because we're consuming a lot of food, but then we also see what type of damage that's been done, and we might need a supplement, which is not an indictment on the diet itself, it's an indictment on the damage we've done to ourselves and our society and the environment. So what's the difference between what we know and what we do? It's huge. Knowledge is worthless unless we apply it. We have to be willing to apply what we know. And then when we look at the problems of knowledge, the powers that be really don't care what we know. What matters to them is what we do with what we know. That's why we're always being distracted. That's why there's controlled opposition out there that's always changing the subject, and we never stay focused on any one thing. So I say over and over in my videos that we got to go upstream, which is where the knowledge is at, and find it and apply it. But then we got to deal with the downstream damage we've done. I emphasize that almost all of my videos because I'm trying to unite two groups of people. There's a huge group of people who understand how important our food is, some a lot better than others. And then there's another huge group, probably even bigger group, that are realizing what in the world is going on. We see what's going on. We understand how the Fed works. We understand someone's printing our money. Why do we allow that to continue on today? Is there not enough of us that know that? Or is it what we're doing with what we know? It's what we're doing with what we know. So there's a big difference between the two. And we got to make things happen. And the reason why I focus on both of these aspects is because I'm convinced that we can't just do one and not the other. And most people don't know about upstream solutions, so all they have are these downstream solutions. And what I'm trying to get these guys to do is to realize, yeah, we need to go upstream too, because that's what causes these problems. So the ultimate solution to deal with the things we're trying to improve wouldn't exist if we weren't making the first mistake. That's how important the first cause is. That's how important the fall of mankind is. That's how important it is to stop destroying the nutrient that feeds one of our senses. You see, this is why we struggle as a species. We've lost one of our senses, and I say this over and over because it's crucial to my story, you see. When we go upstream, we correct the first mistake. That's how we get reconnected. That's how we change our mentality. That's how we get rid of all these subsequent needs that can be used to control us, like the government and money. These are all subsequent needs. So when we look at our individual subsequent needs and how we know they're not good and we're trying to do downstream damage control, let's say our educational system, for example, we know it's horrible, doesn't get results. It's designed to control us and manipulate us and make us subservient and then reward those who won't question authority, who will become our doctors and our lawyers. This is all by design when you look into this in more detail. And when you say, well, okay, how do I solve the problems in education? What about the economic system? What about the money? We got to end the Fed. What about the government? The government's, they controlling everything. You guys are fools. You got to look at the government. And I'm saying, no, man. these are all too complicated individually to ultimately solve the problem. So what we have to do is look for a common link. And there is a common link between these. These are all subsequent needs because we're disconnected. Once again, there's a reason why we have to go upstream also. Because when we go upstream, we correct the fall of mankind. We stop destroying the nutrient that makes us feel one. And that's why I say we get reconnected. Literally, we get reconnected because we're bumping up our biophoton levels. Biophotons are faster than the speed of light. And this has been proved over and over. Initially with Einstein and two other scientists called the EPR paradox. And that experiment's been duplicated. And what they find is that there is faster than light communication. And that's part of our sixth sense. This is what we're missing. That's why we have to understand the role that each and every one of us plays. Because we all have to get reconnected. And then we all have to understand that we've got to correct and change society. We've got to undo most of the laws that we've created ever since we've become civilized. Or especially, well, actually it all started when we moved into farm communities. So the third mistake I've mentioned that we're making really made things a lot worse, and a lot of people point to that because that's when we moved into farm communities, and that's when we started establishing all these laws, and then we moved into cities and even more laws, and the more laws there are, the more corruption there is. The laws are used to control us. So I'm convinced that if the more numerous the laws, the more corruption there is, that the ultimate solution for utopia, for an ideal world, would be to only have one law. And that one law is so that all of us have a minimal biophoton level. And you know what that one law would do? It would help all of us feel one with everything, and it would change our mentality, and we'd realize there's only one way we can improve on the quality of our lives, and that's to improve on everything that I'm connected to around me. So what are you going to do when you wake up? You're going to make everything around you better. And if we have a government at that point, what's it going to do? Make sure that everybody has their needs met. And this isn't like, oh my God, people will take advantage of it. No, once we get reconnected, we'll have a different mentality. See, this is what a lot of people just don't understand, because they're still disconnected, don't you see? Is that you can't think your way into these problems. You have to do some thinking for the downstream damage control. And in fact, we may have to do some serious thinking about this, because we may never reach the tipping point unless maybe we change some of the things that are downstream right now. Maybe that's what it's going to take to get the tipping point. I think we can do it without it, but it wouldn't hurt. So we should do both things. Go downstream, do damage control, and then go upstream and stop jumping in the river. So we got to be pulled down out of the river when we get downstream. So there's a very simple solution to all of our problems. It's so simple, it's mind-boggling. And it's so sad that there are so many people that are in pain and they're suffering, and they're spending what little money they have on all their drugs. Look at the elderly in our country. Now, these people are the hardest to convince that they need to change, and yet if they did, they would be the most convincing because they look the worst. But I like the baby boom generation, because you guys look bad enough now that you are more willing to do this. I'm convinced this is how we're going to reach the tipping point. I'm convinced it's going to be people who have children and their parents look like crap, and the children don't look very good either, but then all of a sudden the parents change and they transform their lives and look better than their children. That can happen very easily. Now think about it. If you're 60 years old, you got a 40-year-old child, a lot of 40-year-old people aren't looking very good. Think what it's going to be like when your 60-year-old pop and mom are out there making you look like you're over the hill. This is how powerful this message is. It transforms people on a level that's just amazing. One of the most exciting transformations is the skin. When I coach women in their mid-50s, which is the largest group of women I seem to coach, because that's usually when we start going downhill, in 30 days, every one of them look 10 years younger at least. I've had some look 20 because they look so bad at that point. But our skin is a reflection of what's going on the inside, and also what we put on the outside. So when we're putting on sunscreen, in fact, I damaged my face because I didn't use the sunscreen on the rest of my body, but only on 2 spots, and that's where I got spots now, because I put poisonous sunscreen on my body that was then damaged by the sun. But the transformation is amazing. Skin tightens up. If you got loose hanging jowls, do a juice fast or a juice feast, a solid food vacation, watch it disappear. How much money are you spending for a facelift? Do this and you'll clean on the inside, and that's how you have to heal the outside. Perion's law of cure states that all healing starts from within out, from the head down, and in the reverse order in which symptoms appear. Now, in the body's wisdom, it knows there are priorities. For example, the lungs will heal virtually right away. Why? Because we'll die within seconds without, or minutes without air. So the body does have a sense of priority, but otherwise we heal from the head down. So when you do solid food vacation, you'll start seeing improvements in your face. And for a lot of y'all, you'll start losing all that fat that's puffed up your wrinkles. And now you think, oh my God, I'm looking horrible because my wrinkles are showing. Well, you don't want a bunch of crap inside your skin. Get that crap out of there. Quit worrying about what other people say. Oh, you look too thin. They're the ones that look too fat. And then, of course, you lose the weight on down. But then, conversely, we die from the feet up. So the key here, relative to the skin, of course, is that it's from the inside out. As long as we got crap inside of our system, our body's going to be focusing more on that than it is on the outside. If you cut yourself, yeah, the body's going to heal itself. But you know what happens when you go on a long juice cleanse? It's so fascinating to see the transformation the skin goes through, because scars disappear, stretch marks disappear. It's mind-boggling to see the body actually heal once we get rid of the crap inside the body. I've seen a scar on my leg that was you could feel it, and it was very noticeable. Now it's barely visible, but you can't feel it whatsoever. And I've had other scars on my body completely heal. And then, of course, I've coached thousands of people. When I was on the Deborah Duncan show in Houston a while back, a woman did a 60-day juice fast, lost her varicose veins. Another woman did a 90-day juice fast and lost a bunion on her foot. And you can watch that video. I'll put a link down there. When I was on the Deborah Duncan show, I had 6 of my students on there. Another woman was suffering from fibromyalgia for like 5 years and couldn't even get out of bed. Her husband had to take over all the chores of the house and had to come in and help her move. She couldn't even move in bed. Within 1 week on a juice fast, she was on TV telling her story. This is how powerful this is. So when I talk about things like what it does for our skin, that's minor cosmetic, but it illustrates what happens when you got crap inside of you. So what's the difference between knowing and doing? One is getting that crap out of you, because this is partly why we have so many problems. Remember, there are 2 things that are contributing to the dark side of our behavior. It's this serpent that Victor Hugo called, that waste matter that's in our system that seeps back into our body. And then there's the lack of this sunlight energy, the faster than light, coherent sunlight energy that gives us the sense that we're all one with everything. And that's how we solve our problems. We got to change our mentality. If we don't change our mentality, things will never change. And if we don't reach the tipping point, things will never change. So there's an urgency to this message in its own way. We need to get a lot of people to do something to get everyone's attention. And once that happens, things can change so fast. This is going to be an exciting place to live. We really should be living in paradise. There's no reason why we should have to wake up and spend most of our day doing something we don't enjoy. And the vast majority of people on this planet are doing that. Life is an illusion, as I have said so many times on so many levels. It's mind-boggling. But we can wake up from this nightmare. We can take the red pill, so to speak, by doing the first of my 3-step process. Go down below in the description box if you haven't seen my seminar yet. Make sure it's part of your favorites, and take some notes, and take it one day at a time. And if you're lucky, it'll take you maybe 3 or 4 months. And when you do, I guarantee you, my friends, you're in for a treat.